Hi and welcome to video 3 of the Gatsby JS course, Style Components. In this video we'll be setting up and configuring our style components so we can start building our Gatsby layouts and making them look nice. Styled components are styles in JavaScript using ES6 syntax. That might sound a bit mind-bending if you have not used them before, but the CSS syntax is pretty much the same. You just get access to JavaScript inside your CSS to do some wonderful things that were simply not possible before. I really enjoy using style components because they are so smart. They do a lot of work for us which previously we had to do ourselves. What kind of work, you ask? Well, style components automatically apply vendor prefixes to our CSS. They automatically generate critical CSS and inject only the styles that are used into our pages. This way we don't need all the CSS on every page, helping with things like load times. They generate unique class names so there's no overlapping and scope issues, and much more, which we'll see throughout this course. So let's get it set up. First we need to switch back to our code and get that running. And I'm just going to tidy up from the previous video and remove the update one from our hello world. So if we just clear that out, then we can run npm start to get the project running. Now we need to install our dependencies, so I'm just going to open up another terminal in here. And then I'm going to install styled components and Gatsby plugin-styled-components. And whilst we're here, we'll also install styled-normalize. You can copy this straight from the description in the video, so if we just get that going. In non-Gatsby applications, we only need the styled components package, but as this is a Gatsby application, we need to install the styled components plugin. This helps Gatsby inject the styles into the HTML when it's generating our pages. And we're going to use the styled-normalize package to implement normalize.css in our application, which if you have not used before, it's a way to make your styles match across browser, because sometimes there's subtle differences between browsers such as Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari and all the other browsers basically. So now that's done, I'll just clear my terminal and we can just check that that has successfully run. So if I go to here, localhost 8000, perfect, we can see our hello world. I'll just zoom that in for you, so put that 200%. Right, go back to our code. Now we need to register our plugin. If we go to our gatsby config.json, we can now register our styled components plugin. To do so, we simply drop the plugin name into this array. This tells Gatsby that when building, we want to make use of this plugin. This plugin requires no additional configuration, so we can literally just drop the name in here. So if I go here and grab the name from my package.json, oh no, it's not styled, it's Gatsby plugin-styled components. Copy that from there, Gatsby plugin-styled components. Just save that. And it's asking me if I want to rebuild, as this isn't a change that it can hot reload, it has to rebuild the entire application as it's got to re-implement the use of the plugin. Now we have our packages in and our configuration done, we need to create a new React component. This component is going to be called layout. So first, inside our source, we're going to create a components directory. It's just where we'll store all our React components going forward. And then inside here, we're going to create a layout.js. I like to capitalize the file name on layout.js as it's a reusable React component, but feel free to do whatever you please here. The reason I am creating layout as a component is because we will want to use this across all of our pages when we get to making them, so we don't want to have to keep rewriting this. Now we can do our standard component setup and export a component called layout. So first we need to import React from React. Then we need to export default function layout and return. Let's return main. The reason I'm creating this with a main tag is because this is where all of our page content will be. This component is going to wrap each entire page, so everything inside the page is technically the main content. So with that in mind, we'll put the children there and we will grab the children as a prop passed into layout. Just save that there. You just see all that jump and change. That's just ESLint formatting it for me. Yours might not do that, but don't worry, it would perform the same if it was that way or that way. Now we have our layout component, and we have it accepting the children props and returning main. We need to wrap our page with this component. So if we go back to our index.js file, we can start writing layout, and luckily it's picked it up and imported it for us automatically. So if we put our layout there, copy our content and place it all inside there, now we have our home page being wrapped by the layout, and all the layout page is doing at this point in time is wrapping all of that content inside a main tag. So let's just test that that has worked. If we go back to our Chrome window, hit F12 and inspect our content, our H1 should be inside a main tag. So perfect, that looks like it's all working as expected. We now have a layout that is working, so we can now set up and configure our styled components. And we're going to set that up inside our layout. And the reason we're setting up our styled components inside our layout is so that every page that is wrapped inside of this will have access to styled components and our theme providers, which we're about to set up. I'm going to quickly write out the setup and then I'll explain what it is doing. So first we want to import from styled components, and we want to import the theme provider. Once we have that theme provider, we can wrap all of our main content inside of it. The theme provider expects a theme prop, and to that we'll create a new variable. So we'll call it theme, and we'll just set it equal to an empty object for now, and we'll pass it the theme. So what is the theme provider? This component provides the theme object we pass it into every style component we write inside of our application. This means we can pass variables around our styles much easier. You might pass things such as colour or breakpoint values. You'll see this in action throughout this course, so we'll get our hands dirty with this later on. But for now, all we need to worry about is that this theme provider is in place and it's being passed a theme. Everything inside of this now has access to this theme, meaning everything in our index file has access to this theme. Before we continue, let's start creating our first set of styles. So let's start with some global styles. To create global styles with style components, we need to import the create global styles function. So if we go to here and start create global styles, we can grab that, and inside here we can then start writing our styles. So we will name this global styles, and the reason I'm doing it with a capital letter first is because this is actually a React component. So if we create that, create global styles, and then put some backticks at the edge of that, everything inside of here is now our styles. So for now, we will just set the body's background to be red. Next, we need to copy that constant, and inside our theme provider, we can place that component. This component doesn't render any HTML into our component, so don't worry about anything in our application being generated here. This is simply for applying styles. So if we go back to our Chrome page, perfect, it's now red. So that shows that this is working. If I change this to blue, refresh, save the file first, now refresh. Now you can see it's blue. Perfect. Now we have added our global styles, let's add normalize. As I mentioned earlier, normalize standardizes what we see across different browsers such as IE, Firefox and Chrome, so we start on a level playing field. Because sometimes things like fonts, buttons are sized a little bit differently on different browsers, and we want to keep them consistent. The good news is, this is really easy. Styled-normalize uses create global styles under the hood, so we can import and use it the same way we use our global styles. So if we import from styled-normalize, and we want to import normalize, then we can copy that and paste it in, just like we did with ours. So that normalizer will now be implemented, and you can see that we no longer have any space to the left of our hello world. If I remove this, save it and go back, you'll see that space is added. But yeah, perfect. So that shows us that our normalize is working. Now we have our theme provider set up and our global styles in place, let's make our first style component. So before we do that, I'm just going to set the background back to white, as that blue is quite daunting. So if we go back to our index.js file, we'll use the h1 tag here and style that up. So first of all, we want to import styled from style components. Then we want to create a new h1 tag here, so we'll call it styled title. And then we'll set that equal to styled dot styled dot, and then we get all of these options, and these options map to exactly the HTML equivalent. So we want a h1 tag, so styled.h1. Then we can throw in two backticks, and now everything we throw in between here will be CSS for the title. So let's create the color red just to test this out. If we now take the style title tag and replace our h1 with that and save, go back to Chrome, we should have a red h1. Before we move on to the next video, let me first show you how to use variables in style components. If we go back to our layout file where we declared our theme, we can start adding variables into here. So in here I'm going to add a color object, and then inside there I'm going to add a text key, and I'll set the value to just be black for now. So now inside our theme provider we have a theme that has a color object that has a text key. So let's make use of that in our index.js file on our home page. So to access variables inside our style component, we simply create a new template literal, and then inside here we have the theme. It does pass in a props, and then we'd get the theme off that, but it's easier to just destructure that straight off, as we know we're getting the theme. And then the theme is returned from here, so we can say theme.color.text. If we save that and go back to our Chrome, we should see that the text is now black. To confirm this works, if we just jump back to our editor, we can go back to our layout file and we can change this variable. So we'll go back to that awful red. Perfect. So the theme provider is working and it's passing context around the application. Whilst we're here, let's add another variable into this. So we'll add a background variable in. Try and spell it correctly. And we'll create the background of white. Lovely. And then inside our global styles, we'll make use of this. So again, we create a template literal, we destructure off the theme, and then we want to return the theme.color.background. Lovely. Now, what's this error? Theme is already declared in the upper scope. Of course, the name of the actual theme is called theme. So we'll change that to main theme for now. Make sure we pass that down to our theme provider. Give that a save. It should look no different. So yep, white background, red text. Now what we can do is change these all back. Save that. And we have our basic theme set up. And then we are ready to go to the next video, where we're going to start hooking into the Gatsby eye and start fleshing out our header and footer. So if you haven't quite caught onto the concept of style components yet, don't worry, we're going to be practicing this lots and lots, so it will eventually start to click. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.